Well, hi there, and welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused on inspiring you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posavy. If you're someone who keeps saying that you want to start a side hustle, but another week goes by and nothing actually happens, this episode will help you understand why. Because the thing that slows most people down, truly, isn't a lack of ideas or money or time. It's the mindset traps that play out in the background without you even noticing. After interviewing more than 170 side hustle heroes, I've heard the same patterns again and again. People wait to feel ready and confident. They overlearn instead of acting. They stay busy with low-impact tasks. They underestimate their own skills. They compare their beginning to someone else's year 5, and they wait for a perfect free day that never comes. The good news? Once you spot these patterns, you can change them. And once you change them, you take action and you get results. So today we're walking through the 7 mindset mistakes that keep most people stuck at the starting line and how to overcome each one. By the end, you'll know which one has been slowing you down and the next small step that'll move you forward. Mistake number 1 is waiting to feel ready. This is a big one and one that I see over and over. I'm just waiting until I feel ready, then I'll jump in. So many of my guests have told me that they wished they had started earlier. None of them said, I should have waited. Because now, with the experience they have, looking back, they realize they would have never felt ready. You have a certain skill set right now that you're bringing to your side hustle that'll cause you to do very well in some aspects of it. But at the same time, because this is new to you, there are a lot of unknowns. You're going to be trying things for the first time. Some of them might work out brilliantly, and others, not so much. But you'll figure it out as you go. You'll learn, you'll grow, you'll course correct. Think about any big moment in your life. Starting that new job, learning a new skill. Did you ever actually feel ready? Probably not. But you wanted whatever it was that you were jumping into, and you figured things out as you went. And somewhere along the line, you realized, oh, I can do this. Side hustles work the exact same way. The first step always feels awkward. Your brain wants clarity and certainty and a perfectly mapped out plan. But nobody gets that at the beginning. My guests who look incredibly capable today, whether they're running 6-figure businesses or selling their products in Walmart or making thousands from a single weekend, they all started in that same place of uncertainty. My episode 1 sounds completely different from this episode 175. I can assure you, I did not feel ready when I jumped in. When the show was just an idea, I reached out to someone who already had a successful podcast. We talked about what I had, what I still needed, and what it would take to drop the first episodes. The pivotal moment was choosing a launch date. I remember asking her, do you think I could realistically do this in 2 months? Because that's the date that I had in mind. And without hesitation, she said, of course, go for it. And that's one of the antidotes to waiting until you feel ready. Talk to somebody who's already doing what you want to do and getting the results that you want to get. Ask questions, pick their brain, and don't end that conversation until you walk away with your launch date. Then make a commitment to yourself that you're going to honor it. Make your word mean something and take the next step, no matter how small. Because once you take that first action, the next one becomes a lot easier. The people you admire didn't suddenly get a lightning bolt of confidence. They just stopped waiting to feel ready and decided to begin. And that decision is what changes everything. Mistake number 2 is overlearning instead of starting. I recently sat down with Miriam Schulman for an episode called Stop Undervaluing Your Work. And she described how sometimes we focus on things that feel more fun or more comfortable, and we do something called procrastinating. Well, if I just watch this webinar over here and learn how to do XYZ instead of calling up a customer or calling up a potential partner, that's procrastinating. It's much harder to try to pitch yourself or sell yourself than it is to learn. And learning feels good because there's no risk involved. And chances are the most important thing that we need to do that'll move the needle is probably the thing that we've been avoiding for a while. Not only in our side hustle, but throughout our careers. So consider this. I think I first heard this from Harv Eker when he said, if you're willing to do what's hard, life will be easy. But if you're only willing to do what's easy, life will be hard. And look, learning feels productive. It feels responsible. You're gathering information, you're getting inspired, you're watching courses and webinars and YouTube videos. It gives you a little hit of, I'm working on my side hustle. But if we're honest, most of the time, you're not working on it. You're circling around it. You're getting ready to get ready. Think of it this way. You can read every article about swimming, watch every video, know the exact technique for the perfect stroke. But the moment you get into the water, the real learning begins. Side hustles are the same. You can't think your way into results. It starts in the mind, but then you have to act on those ideas that'll actually produce the results. So if you've been telling yourself, I just need one more course, or I'll start after I learn XYZ, I want you to ask yourself, what decision am I avoiding? What small action here feels uncomfortable? Because that's the thing you're supposed to be doing next. It's not likely extra learning. And the shift is simple. For the next 7 days, trade 30 minutes of learning for 30 minutes of doing. Instead of another video, send a message. Instead of another article, create something, anything that moves your idea forward. It doesn't have to be perfect, but get it done. And chances are you'll soon realize you already know enough to begin. And the momentum that comes from doing that will help you meet that launch date that we talked about. Mistake number 3 is when we confuse motion with progress. It's when you're busy, really busy, with side hustle work, but none of that work actually moves you any closer to earning revenue. And it's sneaky because the tasks that you're doing feel positive. You're choosing color palettes, adjusting font sizes, rewriting your about page for the 5th time, organizing folders, watching inspirational videos, scrolling for ideas. And at the end of the evening, you think, I worked on my side hustle tonight. But when you look closer, nothing changed. Nothing moved forward. You didn't create an offer or talk to a customer or do anything that puts income within reach. And for most people, this is not laziness. It's self-protection. These low-stakes tasks are safe. Nobody can reject your color palette. Nobody can criticize a perfectly organized Google Drive folder. But the moment you put an offer out there or talk to a real person about your idea, that's different. Suddenly, there's a chance someone might say no or ask a question that you're not ready for. So your brain does what brains do. It shields you by nudging you towards the work that feels productive but doesn't threaten anything. But the ones who succeed are the ones who get very honest, very early about what actually matters. They know the number one activity in the beginning is revenue-focused action. Talking to customers, testing ideas, making offers, getting feedback, learning what the market actually wants. Everything else, the branding, the website, the perfect systems, it'll come. But don't lose sight of what matters most. And ironically, it comes easier because now you're building around something that's real, something people have validated. So if you've been filling your limited time with high effort, low impact work, here's the shift. Before you sit down to work on your side hustle, ask yourself one question. What's the single action that I could take today that would move me closer to earning income? And do that. Because it's progress, not motion, that builds the side hustle. Another mindset block that quietly holds people back is mistake number 4, underestimating the value of your existing skills. People tend to dismiss what they're good at simply because it feels normal to them. It doesn't feel special. Doesn't everybody know how to do this? It doesn't feel valuable. It just feels like, well, it's what they do. So you're the absolute worst person to judge the value of your own skills. You've spent years, decades even, developing the way you communicate, problem solve, manage details, organize information, or spot patterns. You bring a natural rhythm to your work that you no longer notice because it's always been part of how you operate. But because it's familiar, you assume everybody else can do it. But they can't. Take, for instance, photo organizers whom I've interviewed, like Kathy Nelson. Many of them started simply by helping friends and family sort out their digital chaos. They weren't thinking, this is a marketable skill. They were thinking, well, this is something I'm good at. Meanwhile, the people that they were helping felt relieved, borderline rescued, because what came naturally to the organizer felt overwhelming to everyone else. Or take guests who started with skills from their day jobs, copywriting, teaching, bookkeeping, or tech troubleshooting. The same task that they performed every day without a second thought turned into services people were willing to pay for outside of traditional employment. Not because those skills were flashy or rare, but because they solved real problems for real people. So when something comes easily to you, you assume it comes easily to everyone. But for someone else, that exact same thing might feel complicated, confusing, or completely out of reach. So if you've been stuck because you think you don't have anything valuable to offer, I want you to pause and look at your life differently. What do people consistently come to you for? What do they thank you for? What do they ask your advice about? Those questions point directly to the skills you've probably been overlooking. You don't need to reinvent yourself to start a side hustle. More often than not, the seed of your side hustle is already sitting in your everyday life. You just haven't recognized it yet. But once you see it, everything gets easier, because instead of trying to become someone new, you're simply putting structure around something that you're already really good at and offering it up to someone else who needs exactly that. Mistake number 5. Oh my God, I got so good at this. It's comparing your day 1 to someone else's year 5. This usually happens without you even realizing it. You see someone online who looks polished, confident, established. Their branding is dialed in, their systems run smoothly, they're making consistent revenue, and suddenly your own starting point feels, well, embarrassingly small. It's like walking into the gym for the first time and looking over at the person who's deadlifting 300 pounds. You forget that they've been showing up for years, and all you can think is, I could never do that. But here's the reality. Every single one of the people you admire, every guest I've had on the show who now looks capable, so far ahead, they all have had their setbacks and challenges that you don't see. The early experiments, the awkward first attempts, the offers no one responded to, the website that they threw together because they didn't know what they were doing yet. You see the highlight reel, not the reps. And what makes this comparison so dangerous is that it tricks you into thinking that your slow start means that something's wrong, that you're behind, when in fact you're just at the beginning. And beginnings are supposed to look like beginnings. Near the start of my speaking career, I was invited by a mentor of mine, Bob Proctor, who was an authority figure and international speaker in the area of the mind and personal development. He invited me to co-present a series of seminars with him for his client, Malaysian Airlines, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Without even thinking, I jumped at the opportunity and said yes, but I went from euphoria to absolute terror once the reality sank in. Fast forward, there I am on stage in Kuala Lumpur with Bob doing my absolute best. And honestly, I did okay. Not great, just okay. Later that night, I was really beating myself up over it. Bob noticed and he asked, well, what's the matter? And I told him, I said, well, I didn't do it today the way I wanted to. And he asked, and how did you want to do it? Sheepishly, I said, well, like you. And he looked at me and said, Joan, how long have I been doing this? At that time, over 30 years, I replied. And how long have you been presenting seminars? He asked. 6 months. Then he said, so what the hell did you expect? I've been working at this craft for 3 decades. And he was right. Instead of celebrating that 6 months into my speaking career, I was doing an international gig, I was tearing myself apart for not performing like someone who had been mastering the craft for 30 years. So I know that feeling very well. And I'm grateful he called me out on it. When you compare yourself to someone further ahead, you're measuring against a version of them that only exists because they stayed in the game. If you want to make a comparison, look at where you were a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. Are you moving forward? Are you doing something today that you weren't doing before? That's the only metric that matters. Your day 1 is not supposed to look like year 5. It's supposed to look like the beginning of something great. And like all of these 7, mistake number 6 is quite common. It's believing you need confidence before action. It sounds logical. Once I feel confident, then I'll put myself out there. Then I'll talk to potential customers. Then I'll launch this thing. But confidence doesn't work that way. Please hear this. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. You don't build confidence by thinking about doing something. You build it by doing the thing, usually before you feel ready, and almost always before you feel brave. Every guest I've interviewed who's achieved something meaningful in their side hustle started with uncertainty and self-doubt humming in the background. They didn't wait for confidence to show up. They acted first, and confidence is the reward later. Think back to the first time you learned to drive. If you're anything like me, it was all hands and feet and hyper awareness. Every move took conscious effort. But now, after driving for years, you hop in the vehicle and you go. You're not thinking about how to drive. Your actions are automatic. You might be thinking about where you're going, but not the mechanics of getting there. You've become so proficient that the skill just runs in the background. Think about anything you're good at now. Running a meeting or navigating conversations that would have intimidated you years ago. You weren't confident the first time that you tried those things. You became confident because you did them repeatedly until your brain said, "Oh, okay, I know how to do this." Side hustles are no different. The first offer you make doesn't feel confident. The first time you charge for something or ask for feedback or introduce yourself as someone who does this work, it's uncomfortable. Your voice might shake. Your stomach might flip. You might second guess yourself the entire time. But that discomfort isn't a sign that you're not ready. It's a sign that you're growing. I had a recent guest say when he finds himself feeling this way, he reminds himself, this is what growth feels like. That is so true. When doing something outside of your comfort zone, of course it's going to feel uncomfortable. One of the biggest breakthroughs that people have is realizing that they're not short on confidence, they're short on evidence. Evidence that they can take a step and survive it. Evidence that people will respond. Evidence that they can figure things out. And the only way to gather that evidence is through action. Sending an email, making a post, having a conversation. You don't need to feel bold to start. You just need to be willing to take a small step while not feeling confident. Because once you do, something powerful happens. You realize that you're actually capable of more than you thought. And that is when confidence builds. Our final entry into our 7 mindset mistakes that keep you from starting your side hustle is the all or nothing time trap. And it sounds like this. I just need a full day to focus. Once I get a free Saturday, I'll finally make some real progress. Or there's no point starting if I can't devote at least 3 or 4 uninterrupted hours. And the intention behind that's good. You want to do things well. You want space to think deeply and work without distraction. But here's the problem. Those big, wide open blocks of time almost never appear. Life fills them. Something else becomes urgent. Or you're simply too tired by the time they show up. So you end up waiting. And waiting. And waiting. And before you know it, months have gone by and your side hustle hasn't moved an inch. Not because you didn't care, but because you haven't taken full advantage of the smaller time slots that you did have. Side hustles aren't built in 8-hour bursts. Often they're built in micro moments. Every guest I've ever talked to used the time they actually had, not the time they wish they had. 20 minutes before work, 15 minutes after dinner, half an hour during a lunch break. They made progress in the cracks of their day, and that consistency created momentum. And once momentum shows up, it becomes a force of its own. People dramatically underestimate what they can accomplish in small, steady efforts. You can outline a simple offer in 20 minutes. You can send 2 outreach messages in 10. You can brainstorm content ideas on your commute. You can draft a post in the grocery store lineup. None of these things require a perfect environment. And when you embrace those micro moments, you often get more done than you ever would in that mythical 8-hour Saturday, because you stay connected to your idea daily. You stop losing momentum. You stop having to start over. Small actions compound in a way big sporadic ones never do. Yes, there are times when you need a solid block of uninterrupted, deep work time, but don't let that stop you from the other tasks that you could be accomplishing. So if you've been postponing your side hustle until the stars align and your schedule magically clears, here's a question. What can you do in the next 20 minutes? Not someday, not this weekend, today. Because it's not the size of the time block that matters, it's the consistency of the effort. And once you get into the habit of that, you'll become unstoppable. If one or several of these 7 mindset mistakes hit close to home, that's great. It means you've identified the pattern that's been slowing you down. And once you can see it, you can change it. You are far closer to starting than you think. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need endless time. You don't need a sudden wave of confidence. You just need one honest decision. I'm not waiting anymore. Well, that's a wrap for today. If our chats are sparking your entrepreneurial spirit and providing valuable insights, consider showing your support by visiting sidehustlehero.com/support. That's where you can shoot me a virtual coffee. It's a real thing and a fun way to give the show a caffeinated thumbs up. Thank you so much. In the episode description, you'll find a link to the full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start and grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.